goodness. Sean, it's official. We're live.
Great.
Yay! Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Family. This is so exciting. You are 24 weeks and a few days with your girl twinnies. You are a fellow New Yorker, which I want to say that I don't love New Yorkers more than others, but I don't know. Raising your twinnies on this crazy island of ours of
Yes.
Manhattan, it's something. So I love that we have that in common. I love my crazy New Yorkers, especially New Yorkers during a pandemic. We're an interesting breed that we haven't bought a house in Connecticut yet.
Yes. Yes.
Did all of your friends move out?
No, actually, some
people
people
did
have
down
left
here?
and gone different places temporarily, but a lot of people are sort of hunkering down.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm sad that people are thinking like, we need a backyard. No, you don't. You actually don't. Then you have lawn work to do and all that stuff. And who needs that?
Exactly. There are plenty of parks near where I live, so I'll be taking advantage of that.
Exactly. Sean, tell us about yourself. How did you get here? How did you end up getting pregnant with twinnies and falling on the doorstep of Twiniversity, where we are definitely taking you in and raising you as our own?
Yeah, no, I love it. Oh gosh, how did I find? Well, it was a complete surprise to me. I found out I was about 4 months already in. I was having some symptoms, but was blaming things on a lot of different things. Like I felt really tired and I felt like, oh, like it's really hard to get out of bed. It's really hard to stay motivated. I felt like my emotions were all over the place. I like talked to my primary care doctor. I even talked to a counselor about it and was like, I just feel like I can't manage my emotions. I can't get out of bed. And like they were both like, that's everyone. Welcome to 2020. You know, there's a pandemic going on and the world's on fire. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm just like more sensitive, or like maybe I'm the only person talking about it because they don't have ads for this sort of thing. And then eventually, I should also disclose I am in the marketing and advertising industry, so like I'm probably overly influenced by things like that. So I was like, all right, no big deal. Everyone's going through this. I'm just the only one talking about it. And one week I finally was like, I guess I should take a test. And then I did that, called my doctor, went, I guess that was maybe a Friday, went on a Monday. And he was like, didn't I just see you? Didn't you have a sonogram earlier this summer? All these like weird things were going on. And he was like, let's just see what's going on. And then he was like, oh yeah, definitely pregnant. And he kept talking to me. And I was just like, okay, well, I figured that. And then I'm like, well, how far along do you think I am? And he's like, 16 weeks. And I was like, I was like, what? And then we kept talking some more, and then he turned the monitor and was like, it's twins. And I would have, as I told a couple of my friends, I was like, I would have rolled off if it weren't for the stirrups. So I was hearing all of that like back to back to back. And then he's like, well, I definitely want you to come back later this week for like a full sonogram, and we want to do try to sort of catch you up in the process, because a lot of women find out a little bit earlier. And then I went back later that week, and the woman was like, do you want to know the gender? And I was like, oh, we're here. Because I think about a lot of my friends that, you know, they find out they're pregnant and they're like, I hope it's a boy. Like, I wonder if it'll be this. I wonder if it'll be that. And then they still are surprised. But I had, you know, it had been less than a week from even finding out.
You had 4 days. 4 days to find out the gender.
Yeah.
Of
So
your
it was
babies.
a lot of information to process in the beginning. I mentioned I have a good friend who she might even be tuning in now, who's a huge fan of Twiniversity, that has 2.5-year-old girl twins herself. And so she recommended that I, you know, check you all out, and was like, I used the classes and raved about it. And I think it is different than having just one, because I've had plenty of friends that have had that. And I didn't even realize there was a whole new world of like gear specific towards multiples, which is fantastic and it'll make my life easier. But that's how I got here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you were 16 weeks already
well,
when you found out.
The irony of it is there's a show called, I don't know if it airs anymore, called I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant. And
yes,
but those women, a lot of them are like full term. So I was like, well, it could have been worse. Like, it's like,
Sean, not for nothing. If you were literally on your way to a hospital and they're like, you have a lot of babies coming out of you, I don't know. I'd definitely be talking trash about you. Coincidentally, I was watching an episode of I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant this weekend. The woman's name was Jasmine. We talked about her for a while. She had twins. She
Oh,
did not
wow.
know she was pregnant. She ended up going to the hospital because she ended up having preeclampsia. So she went just thinking like, oh, it's my blood pressure and all these
Yeah.
crazy things. Then she developed HELP syndrome, which your liver just goes to
Yep.
kaput. So I was totally obsessed with that show. But I always tape all of like the baby stories. I didn't know like anything that says the word twins, I watch it
Okay.
because I don't know. I'm still, even though I have twins, I am wonderfully fascinated by twins, even though I'm part of this community. There's still that
Right.
sideshow effect that I will always tune in on. So yeah, even my husband brought up Jasmine the other day. He's like,
That's
"There's
so
something that
funny.
your best friend Jasmine wouldn't know." I was like, "Babe, my best friend." But yes, so you were a few weeks away from I didn't know I was pregnant. Okay, now
Yeah.
what changes have you made to your lifestyle now knowing that you have two little buns in the oven?
Well, first, the easy lifestyle changes, no Revel mopeds, no alcohol,
There should have
being,
been no rebel mopeds anyway, Sean.
that's fair, but I was wearing my helmet, unlike a lot of New Yorkers, and I was,
Scares me.
within the parameters, not on the sidewalks. It's funny. One of my friends was like, "Oh, it's a good thing we didn't do that when you were pregnant." I was like, "Actually," and he was like, "Oh man." So I'm not riding. Would ride my bike occasionally. Like I wasn't an avid bike rider, so I cut that out. And then just really trying to focus on eating a balanced meal. Not that my diet was ever terrible, but like really trying to focus on getting more protein in because I wasn't a big meat eater. That sort of stuff. And then like from like a house perspective, just like trying to clean the apartment out to move all this new baby stuff in. That's really been it.
Okay, so now who is helping you through all of this? Who's on
Um,
Team Sean?
so Team Sean, obviously my partner, and then my friend that I mentioned who raved about Twiniversity, and we both have the most incredible supportive groups of friends and family,
Good.
which is super, super helpful. So we have a wonderful village that, advice, emotional support, excitement. Like a lot of my friends, when I, told them, they were like, "I'm going to be an uncle." I was like, "Okay, that's one way to take it." But that,
That
just a
was it.
lot of
It's
excitement
their
around.
story. How does this affect them?
And I'm happy they feel that way because I'm sure at some point I'll
Too.
be like, "Hey, remember, do you want to be on uncle duty?"
Ah,
Our parents, of course. I think, my mom has been shopping like a fiend.
good.
So,
Good.
there's so many things that I'm just like, okay, well, we can check that off. We've got enough onesies that are going to last us for who knows how long. But yeah, it's been exciting, and we're really fortunate to have so many wonderful people in our lives.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, good. Because it really is. I know the cliche term, it takes a village, but with 20s, it really does. And now,
Yeah.
have you thought about are you going to expand your pandemic bubble? I mean, hopefully we'll all be, vaccinated and life will be normal-ish,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's not looking too good. I got to be honest.
Yeah, and right
So,
now it's funny you say that because I've been thinking, I never, New York obviously has been more conservative, we'll say,
yeah.
in a PC way, more conservative about managing the pandemic. And I think even when like, I didn't do a lot of outdoor dining, I never did indoor dining. So I
Yeah.
kind of maintained status quo to a certain extent, which now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, that was great. That was great prep for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
My plan is really to just sort of slowly hunker down more and more in the new year. So,
Okay.
make my bubble a little bit smaller in January, get smaller in February, and then, March on, it's kind of like shut down. But hopefully by that time, March, April, maybe there'll be vaccines for more, sort of like regular
Yeah.
people at that point. And then in that sense, we can sort of like play things by ear.
Yeah. Well, even with that, we have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, at
Exactly.
some point, I have literally, I can't make plans besides what I'm doing on Friday. Like that's pretty much where it ends. Sean, I want to know. There's a lot of love coming to you. I don't know if you could read all the comments, but you're
Yeah,
you're you're getting some love there. And so we even
yeah.
have Lauren's on part of our team. Erin is on, who is I don't know if you watched Erin's stories. I'll show you them. But we
Okay.
talked to Erin through her pregnancy. That was really cool. So yeah, it's great. And Marnie's here. She'll always be on for our live feeds, which is fun. So yeah,
Okay.
we got a good, and you got a good Twiniversity family too. And I know
Great.
that we are pretty much virtual. But you never know. If the world comes back, I will totally take the train up to you. That's not even difficult for me. I'm
Yeah,
on the 6 line. If you're on the 4 line, we can be friends.
I'm
That's
on the
how.
A, but
Oh crap! I got
West
to
Side.
transfer
I
Columbus
know.
Circle.
I
All right,
know.
I'll make the. I'll do it. We'll see.
We'll
Let's see
figure
how
it
the
out.
world.
We'll figure it out.
But I'm glad that you have a really good team, and which is fantastic. Now, have you set some priorities for yourself of things that you want to do sooner than later? Have you given much thought about the timeline, about a budget for creating a nursery? Like, what have you done as far as prep goes with kind of like setting some milestones for yourself of getting things done?
Yeah, so I think because I found out late and I'm a reasonably organized person, but I'm usually kind of like, la, 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 whatever, unless my back is against the wall, which is kind of what I felt like when I first found out.
Yeah.
So I just
Good
start
man.
making like all these crazy lists and spreadsheets. So we've done the budgeting, we've talked about the nursery, I have this sort of secret Pinterest board where I'm just throwing stuff up and I've started building a registry and just kind of figuring out like I think the other thing is living in New York City. It's like, what do you really, really need, versus what's going to just take up space and like be piled
Yeah.
up in your apartment. So trying to figure that out and talk to. Luckily, I have other friends in the city with newborns, really young children, so I can hear from them like, oh, I really like this,
Yeah.
or like you can get that sort of thing. So we've talked about a lot of that stuff and started to figure it out. We
Okay.
haven't really enacted a lot of it, but for me, what I'm thinking is the nursery. Like my friend, luckily, who has the twins, was kind enough to send me her twin bassinet. So
Good.
they have some
Good.
place to sleep from the start, and I'm figuring they'll be in that for the first couple months anyway. So I feel like the nursery, while I want to figure out what we're going to do, it's not like something we have to do in January. So that we're kind of
Yeah.
trying to tackle the things. It's like, what do we need to definitely do before they come? What are the things we need to do like right after they come? And what are the things that we can think about afterwards? So we're trying to
What
tackle that with
hospital are you delivering in?
NYU.
NYU. I was born in
Oh,
NYU.
cool.
Yay, I love that hospital.
Yeah.
I did not deliver my own 20s there. It is one of my like biggest regrets. I don't know
Really?
why. I ended up going to a doctor at Sinai and then I just stayed up there, but NYU is my jam, yo. I love
Yeah.
it. I'll be
I've
there
heard
on
great
Wednesday with my
things.
mom.
Oh, cool.
They're fantastic. So that is our we actually changed doctors for my twins because their last health insurance was no longer accepted at NYU. That's how like serious I am
Okay.
about this hospital. So
Okay.
yeah,
Good
I
to
really
know.
you could not be in better hands. You really are. You're in very, very good shape. So that's good. I feel better about that. Now, how big is your apartment?
A little over 1,200 square feet.
Oh, so you got plenty of
So
space.
a decent size by New York standards. I'm sure they're
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
there's someone in
that's
Cleveland
huge.
on now that's like, oh.
So do they have a dedicated room or
Yeah.
is it more of a lofty?
No, it's
Okay.
basically they'll have a dedicated room.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Now,
Yeah.
as far as getting their room ready, have you thought, like, are you going to do a theme or is your theme going to be whatever we get for friends?
We've talked about themes, but we haven't really laid out. So like I didn't want anything that was like super, super girly, like some ballerina thing. I wanted something more neutral, whether it's like outer space, farm animals, the zoo, something like that. But we haven't really quite nailed that yet. And I recently, a couple of years ago, painted in that room, and the
Okay.
colors actually work really well. Like it's kind of
Ooh,
like a
good.
teal and a yellow. So I'm kind of like, if
Perfect.
we can avoid having to repaint, that would make
Yeah,
me happy.
totally.
Especially like in the winter with like everything going on with COVID, like trying to keep a few people coming in and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we'll probably make a decision on that sooner than later. Yeah.
That is it's interesting. I'm noticing that everybody thinks they need a theme, but yet it's like, how much are you committing to this? Like it's one of those fun pregnancy things that
Yeah,
you can't ever do again because as the kids get bigger, they're going to choose what they want their room to be like.
right,
So it's a now or never.
right.
You either commit to this space situation or
Yeah.
you're never getting to see it. We actually, Julie, if you're on with us now, Julie will put in a link. We actually just wrote a whole article about space themed nurseries. Like,
Oh,
no
okay.
joke.
I'll have to check that
Because
out.
we're finding that they're very popular and it is very gender neutral. It's very color neutral too. You could do whatever you want, but I think it's fun. The benefit of the girls is that I think it is a little bit easier
Hmm.
to plan a nursery for little girlies. Now, are you going to when they are out into this universe, have you given much thought about how you are going to figure out who the heck is who?
We haven't really figured that out yet. I'm thinking when we see them, we're maybe gonna know.
Or maybe not.
Maybe
And they
not.
could be identical still. We
Yes.
don't know just
Yes.
because I mean, there's still a possibility, especially
Mhm.
finding out that late in the game and being spontaneous. We're gonna have to wait and see on
Yeah,
this.
roll the dice.
So, yeah, it's now another thing with that is that figuring out who's who, some of like the old school tricks are definitely nail polish, but that seems to be going, far away. A lot more people are
Mhm.
doing jewelry, like an ankle bracelet
Oh,
on baby B,
okay.
and then you have bracelet equals B, and then we know that that's baby B. Baby
I
A
like
doesn't even need jewelry.
that. Okay.
So then and it's not only for you, Sean, it's the other people in your team.
Mhm.
Because if, let's say, your mom comes over, she may not be so quick to know who's
Right.
A and B in the beginning, especially if they are so similar, because
Yeah.
they're baby girls. Like, it's like, regardless of identical or not, you're still having two baby girls. It gets a little challenging. So bracelets are good. And for the people that are here joining us for the live feed, if you guys have your own thoughts on how to tell A and B apart, we would love your 2 cents. Now, with the nursery, are you going to get 12 white sheets, or are you going to we're going to color code the babies? So A is always going to be a teal and B is always going to be a yellow.
I hadn't even considered that.
Oh no. Don't make things worse for you. I feel bad now. I'm just saying.
I'm like, I
I
don't
always think
know.
about there's this one mom, her name is Bridget, and
Okay.
she had girl twins, and she would always put her baby B in green. And I
Mm.
never knew this child by its name unless it was affiliated with green. So her name is
Okay.
Madeline. So she would be Maddie Green. And so now to this day, when I look at her children on Instagram or whatever, they're big now. I'm like, Maddie Green. Yeah. Maddie
Yeah.
still wears a lot of green. I got to be
Does she
honest.
really?
But
That's
a
funny.
lot of people that have the same gender children often will kind of just color code them so that it's easier for the universe when they're out of the bracelet stage. When they're infants and you're changing diapers, you could find a bracelet easy. But when they're
Yeah.
running around all over the place, you could certainly adopt
Yeah,
the
I'll have to think
Maddie
about
Green
that.
situation. It's a lot. 20s are a lot, especially
Yes.
the same gender 20s. It's a
Yeah.
lot, girl. All right. Now you had the big question. You came to our Twiniversity meetup. So for those of you that don't know, we have a monthly meeting that's run by Lauren, who's a social worker. And then usually there's odds and ends from our team on just because we like to jump in and feel special. But you came with a very specific question of your stroller in mind.
Yes. And I
Okay.
swirled hard after that. Like I was like, I thought we'd picked it out, and then I saw a, let's say, less than stellar review on YouTube and have gone down the spiral, the rabbit hole again.
Dum, dum,
I
dum.
know.
So you
So
came
still
to the
taking
meeting and
requests.
you're like, this, what was the one that you thought you wanted?
So the one that I had put on the registry was the Mockingbird from that direct to consumer. But I
Yes.
mean, I have a spreadsheet where it was like I was looking at the Upper Baby because that's everywhere in New York, and then the Bugaboo, and then some of the baby joggers. And I'm at the point when I was walking down the street with a friend, I was like, that looks like the 2019 Upper Baby Vista. And he was like, whoa.
It got serious for you.
I was like,
That's it.
yeah,
You're serious
my
about it.
stroller game is getting next level.
Oh.
Who would have
So
thought?
how did our little meetup help you?
Well, it was great. So someone actually recommended the Mockingbird because she had a friend that had it, and then there were some, I'll say, like, fairly priced, moderately priced strollers that weren't even on my radar that I, was able to put in the mix because, Up a Baby
Good.
and Bugaboo are both really expensive, and I do a lot of walking, so one of
Yeah.
my concerns was like I wanted to make sure it was something that would be sturdy enough that, like, if I go on a 5-mile walk in Central Park,
Yes.
if I do that 2 or 3 times a week, after a month, I'm not calling the manufacturer saying I need a new tire or something like that.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Oh, good. Did they throw Valco in the mix for you?
Yes, Valco was on there too.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That was it. I had the Valco twin tri-mode and would
Okay.
walk from here in Chinatown up to Central Park and back without a problem.
Okay, that's great
And
to
I
know.
only had one flat my whole time as a twin parent with that, and where I went to the Apple store and I rolled over a thumbtack.
Oh,
But I also had 4 kids sitting in the stroller. Please don't judge me for that. It was my niece and my nephew and my twins, and because of the way that the Valco is built, and I do not recommend that anybody does this, but because of the way that it's built, the twins' feet kind of had like a platform. So my twins would sit like crisscross with their legs, and then my niece and my nephew would sit at the end of the stroller, and I would just go very, very slow in the Apple store. We wouldn't ride outside in public, but then with all the weight on it, over a thumbtack, there went my first and only tire blowout. Any tire store, like any place that repairs bikes, could fix it. And it was like, I think at the time it was like $8 because it's only the inner tube. It was pretty easy, actually. And ironically, I met the dude who fixed the tire, twin dad. And then he's the one that showed me the tip when you buy a stroller that has air tires, if you adjust the tire pressure, like let's say they have a size discordance. So you have like Frank the Tank and Skinny Mini, right? And you have these two, you're always going to veer towards the side of the heavy baby. But if you adjust the tire pressure, you'll always go straight. It's genius. I never even thought about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was the hookup, man, on Lafayette Street down here. The dude was like, I got you, which was really, really great. So there's a lot that you have to think about, but don't get too overwhelmed. Just drink your water, have some snacks, and make that a priority. Now, when you had your appointment with your doctor the last time, do you have a scheduled C-section date? Are they going to kind of go for vaginal? Do they say hard stop at 38 weeks? Like what kind of parameters did they give you for your pregnancy?
Well, none really. So I set them to a certain extent. So my doctor is fine with me pushing. He was even like, if one is out of position, we can try to reposition her. And he's like, if all else fails, he's like, you can push one and then we might have to get the other one C-section. That's where I drew the line. Like I was like, they're either both coming out naturally or they're both coming out C-section. So at this point, I haven't decided if I want to just schedule the C-section. I'm still leaning towards seeing what happens, but as we get closer to the due date, I might change my mind. But one thing I know is like, barring some sort of unusual circumstances, they'll both be delivered the same way.
Oh, so you think?
No, don't say that.
Sean, nobody goes into the hospital saying, I'd like a C-section and a vaginal delivery, please.
Yeah.
Could you sign us up for that? Julie, who you've met at our meeting, she had 1-in-1.
Oh gosh.
She's very stable-ish. She's fine with it. I think that you always shoot for the vaginal delivery because ideally it's a very small percentage. It's like 7% of the vaginal deliveries are 1-in-1. And that's not a lot at all. Okay. But then you have parents like me. I had 2 vaginal deliveries. It was fine. I'm working with another mom right now. She just had a vaginal delivery. It's definitely picking up as less scary. And at NYU, I would not give it another thought. If you could have A vaginally, and A is all we really need to kind of work this out, because if A comes out old school, B could follow suit even if B is head down, but B could also turn. So even if it looks perfect, that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. But if it doesn't look perfect, that doesn't mean it's not going to be perfect. So it still could be awesome. Yeah. And the vaginal delivery, just the healing is just so much better. Barring any significant tearing, you're up and moving about. It's not major abdominal surgery, and then you don't have to worry about, making sure that your wound isn't infected, that you're cleaning it correctly. There's so much less maintenance on a vaginal delivery. You just got to get your vag back in working order, and that does it kind of on its own. So, yeah. It's don't think about too much. Do you have a waterproof mattress cover on your bed though?
Actually, I think it is, but I'll have to check.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That is the one kind of thing that I try to gently remind people about, that a lot of times people get so fixated on, I have a scheduled C-section date. This is what it's going to be. And then your water breaks at 2:00 in the morning on a Thursday, 2 nights before your C-section. And now you have amniotic fluid all over your bed.
Yeah.
So just make sure that you have a cover on your bed. You're not even close to that, but because you have time, you could price shop. And
Exactly.
so you're
Check it
not
out.
like rushing to Bed Bath and Beyond for the $80 cover. You could get the $17 cover on Amazon and wait
Amazon.
for it to get there till after Christmas. God bless Amazon. I hate them and I love them at the same exact
I
time.
think that's all of us.
It's bittersweet. Or Erin said, or your cat could pee on the bed. See? So you never know. Animals could do it too. But yeah, that waterproof mattress cover, that's something you should do sooner than later. You should start thinking if you want to do cord blood banking. So that's something you need to do sooner than later. A little virtual hospital tour might be a good idea. So just get that done. You need to take a CPR class and a first aid class, ideally. So Twiniversity has one. If you would like to take it, you could come as our guest. I would be honored to have
Okay,
you
thank you.
check it out. That would be, please. I love giving away classes. It makes me feel like, and you get a first aid class. So yeah, it's a newer class of ours, but it was taught by a twin dad who was actually one of our New York City people. He was a gym teacher up in the Bronx, and he is a first aid instructor and a CPR instructor. So Gabe did that for us. So you have to do that. But there's not much else you'd need to do other than really try to relax, because your house will only be silent for, another 14 weeks or so.
Right.
That's all you got. After that, you're looking at 18 years of noise. So there you go. So enjoy the silence, enjoy this holiday, and think about next holiday. Forget about us not being in a pandemic anymore. Think about just like how your 20s are going to celebrate their first kind of winter, post-pandemic. It's going to be a celebration.
I think so.
It's going to be wild.
Yes.
There's going to be a huge birth boom. Those 20s are not going to be alone.
Yeah.
That is that. Now, last thing that I want to ask you about, because I'm always curious, because people start thinking about it now if you haven't already. Have you given much thought to names yet?
Yes. And we're
That's
really
fun.
close.
To Natalie?
Yeah.
Is that on the board?
It's not.
Fine.
We're really close.
Whatever, Sean.
But haven't really disclosed it with anyone yet.
No, but it's there and you're thinking about it. Now, have you said this is a firm name, or are you going to make a list of names and meet the babies and say, okay, you are Juliet?
So we have
how are you determining that?
We have pretty firm names now, but we don't know who's who yet.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I love it. Naming babies is awesome.
Yeah.
How great is that? You got to think about, what are their initials going to be like?
Yes.
Oh, there's so much to think about. Oh, I love it so much. I'm so excited for you.
Thank
And I'm so
you.
happy that you allow us into your house to share kind of a look into your pregnancy.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do it.
Is there anything that's on your mind today and you're like, holy crap, Nat, this is keeping me up?
Not really at this point.
Oh, I love that. Good.
I know. I feel like I'm kind of like, there's a lot to do, but we have time, I feel like we've got time to do the things that are important before we need to do them. So kind of taking every day as they come, having grace with myself, which I think has also been the theme of 2020 anyway.
It was the what we didn't think was going to be the theme of 2020. That is the damn freaking truth. That is really, really true. Now, you said when we first started this conversation that you were experiencing some anxiety and depression and stuff, and you just noticed a mood change. Yeah. Now that you're in your second trimester, which is a little bit more honeymoony of your pregnancy, has that alleviated? Like, how are you emotionally feeling about this whole thing?
Generally really good, excited, less tired. It turned out I also was anemic, so that was probably another thing that was contributing to some of the fatigue. But I'm on iron, I'm managing the protein in my diet, making sure I'm getting enough of that as well. So yeah, I feel generally pretty good and much better than I did over the summer, but over the summer I didn't even realize I was pregnant. So
I love that. I love a surprise twin pregnancy. That's kind of the best, because then you didn't have all the stress that when you did have it, you just didn't know that's what it was.
Exactly.
So you had everything that accompanies a first trimester of a twin pregnancy. You just figured it was pandemic because hashtag 2020. Why not?
Exactly.
You could be, 10 weeks pregnant and never know. You had no clue.
Exactly.
That this crazy town, USA.
I
Well,
know.
I am glad that there is two, and it's going to be amazing. And your little
Oh, thank
girlies
you.
are going to be the freaking best. And look, fellow New Yorkers, that's
Yes.
it. You're going to love raising your kids in the city. I'm telling you,
Oh,
there's things that you're going to hate, but there's things that you're going to love. Did you grow up here?
no, I'm from New Jersey originally, but spent a lot of time in the city.
Well, let it slide. I'll let
Yeah,
it
I
go.
know. I
I'm
know.
I'm
Jersey gets a
born and
bad rep.
raised I'm born and raised here, and there's definitely something interesting about the way that you grow up living in Manhattan, and like things that I say all the time, you never have to explain to your kids about diversity and about inclusion. Like we're
Hmm.
such an interesting city that literally, depending on what stop you get off at the train, you have a whole new culture to explore.
Yep, that's so
So
true.
it's fantastic, and it's one of my favorite things about living here is that I could go to Chinatown, I could go to Astoria and have the best spanakopita, I could
Right.
go to Little Korea in Midtown. Like it's really, really fantastic. Mostly it's about food. If I really think about it, Sean, I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to say it, but the cuisine of a culture really means a lot to me. So
Yeah.
yes. Oh, Sean, you were the best. I
Oh,
hope
thank
you
you.
will allow us back in your home. I hope we didn't
Sure, sure.
traumatize you with the vaginal and C-section and
No,
all
I
that.
just got to
Okay,
be
we'll
prepared for anything. That's the moral of multiples.
have so true. It's the grace. It's
Yeah.
finding the grace in your
Yeah.
pregnancy. Well, we'll check back with you in a few weeks. We'll see how things are going. We'll see how what's kind of got checked off your list. And don't forget too that at Twiniversity we have your twin pregnancy week by week, and every week we say think about getting this item done.
Yep.
And that way you don't end up being 30 weeks pregnant and saying, oh, crapola, I got nothing done. So go and look at the twin week by week and say, okay, scroll down to the bottom and say things you should do this week. Also, we have a whole thing about questions you should ask your doctor. So
Okay.
sometimes people just don't know what to ask their doctor. They're like, I think I should know. But the other thing is not only do people think that they should know, they often don't ask because they're like, shouldn't I know this?
Right.
Shouldn't I know that? No, you shouldn't know anything. Unless you went to medical school, then you should know it, but on a different
Right.
level than ours. So make sure you check that out. And
Will
I
do.
can't wait. You'll take class by the next time we chat.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
I'm signed up for the one I think it's like right after the new year.
yes, it's in January. Okay,
Yeah.
good. You're gonna like it. It's gonna be great. All right, my love.
Fantastic.
Happy holidays, Sean. You said tight, but say bye to our Twiniversity family.
Okay. Bye.
Bye,
Happy
guys.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Ah, bye, guys.